So the next thing we're going to do is go to server/main.js. This is one of the files that it created for us automatically. We're going to delete everything in there because it's fun to delete things. And we're going to just import this. So, okay, so what we're actually doing here is we're importing that file. We're not specifying what we're importing from that file, and so therefore it's going to import everything. Yeah, cool. So the next thing we're going to do is in our import/UI/body.js, instead of hard coding our tasks here, we're going to delete all this and we're going to say tasks. This is an example of one of those functions they talked about. This is the ES6 function notation that we can use in Meteor now. So what we're saying is this function tasks is going to return something, right? So we need our tasks. What this means is it's going to get all of our tasks. So it's going to say tasks.find, and since it's passing a blank object, basically it's passing no parameters, it's just going to find all the tasks. But before we can do that, we actually have to import the tasks. We're specifying that we're going to just import this variable so that we can refer to our tasks. And so now if you'll look at our template again, we're saying each tasks. Well, this is a function now. It's not an array. So how can we go through each one? Well, what happens is the function runs and returns whatever Mongo returns from a query. But Meteor knows how to handle that using its each syntax. So it will go through each thing returned from that query, and it will print out one of these templates. And they're showing you here how to run the Meteor Mongo console. I kind of touched on that before. I opened it up here. This is what it looks like when you're in the Meteor console. And again, you just open that by typing Meteor Mongo. And you can do this db.tasks.insert to create a task. So when you do that, you want to make sure you have your list visible. So now you'll notice like all of our list items disappeared. And so if I insert something into our database, notice the lowercase t, you'll see instantly up here something appeared. And so I can insert as many as I want. And they'll instantly appear up here. Anything that is updated in the database will be pushed to the client. And this is awesome for having like an interactive, like a chat or something like that. You don't have to refresh the page to get updates from the database. Cool, so the next thing we're going to do is add tasks with a form. So what I'm going to do is go to imports/UI/body.html. And I'm going to just copy and paste this. So, and I'll show you where to put it in this H1 inside of this header tag. You're going to put it there. If you're using Sublime Text, you can hit Command-Shift-V to paste it with the tabbing correct. So you may have noticed when I first pasted it, the tabbing was all messed up. Okay, so once you get that pasted in, we're going to go to imports/UI/body.js. And we're going to add in all this code here. So again, definitely type this out. It will help you get a better understanding of what's going on, and it will help you memorize it. I'm going to go ahead and paste it because I don't want to waste your time. So what this is telling us is that we can create events on that body template. So what we're saying is when we submit something that has the class of new task, and look, this has the class new task. So when this form is submitted, we're going to run this function. So you'll notice this has parentheses here, and it's the same notation we used up here. Very similar. So this is actually a function that gets run whenever this event happens. And this is how you create event listeners in Meteor. You may also have noticed they passed in an event. You're probably familiar with this e.prevent default. If you're not, you should be. basically what that does is it prevents the default behavior from happening, and the default behavior on a form is that it causes the page to refresh. And we definitely don't want that, because the whole point of Meteor is that we don't need the page to refresh. So that's the first thing that happens when a new task is submitted. It prevents the page from refreshing. Then what it does is it gets these two values. Remember, const is the way you create a variable. So it gets something called target from the event.target. So what that's going to tell you, the event.target is going to be the actually it's going to be the input. It's the thing that created the event submission. And then the target.text.value is going to be the value of that input. So basically, we're only creating target here so that we can get the value from it and then clear it later on. So in between doing those things, though, there's something interesting going on here. What we're doing is we're inserting a task into our Mongo database. So you'll notice we're using that tasks keyword with a capital T, and we're using the insert function. Now, insert takes an object, and usually the object would look something like this. Text would be hello. Created at would be something. But the interesting thing here is that in ES6, there's this shorthand. So this is actually the same thing as saying this. So if you have a key value pair where the name of the key and the name of the value are the same, you can use ES6 to shorten it to this. So this is another thing they failed to mention in the intro that you need to know. But once you know it, it's a pretty cool shortcut. I deleted that comment that was after this, but basically new date just creates a date object in JavaScript with the current time. So what we're doing is we're inserting a new task with the text that we grabbed from that input field, and then we're adding a created at value, which turns into right now. So pretty straightforward. So now we can actually go in here and add a task. And this task actually now has a created at date associated with it. So that actually now gives us the ability to sort these by date, which we will do in a second. So yeah, you can just do this. So when we find our tasks right here, we're going to pass no criteria. And then you can actually put a comma and then put other parameters that you want. So when you create a find query, the first thing you're telling it is what you want to find. Then the next thing you're telling it is like how you want to find it. So what we want to do is we want to say sort, and then we want to sort the created at value, and we want to sort it -1. So by default, it will sort things from 0 to 100 in alphabetical and numerical increasing order. And if we say -1, it just does decreasing order. So it's going to sort by the dates in decreasing order. And if you'll look now, let me save this. And if you look over here, it should resort these. And let me just add one here so you know for sure that the newest is on the top. And you may remember the previous one I created was hello. All right. So we're getting pretty close to being done. I'm not going to get into the running on mobile just yet. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is talk about checking off and deleting tasks. So a to-do list is pretty useless if you can't check off tasks or complete them. So what we're going to do is we're going to create this new file in our imports/UI folder. So we're going to create a file called task.html. We're going to save that, and we're just going to put in exactly what they have here. Again, make sure you type this in. What we're doing is we're creating a template named task, and we want to actually get rid of our other template named task. Make sure you do this. They do have it written somewhere, but I don't know where. So just make sure you go into your body.html, delete this little task template, make sure you save, and create this awesome new big task template. So we're creating, first of all, a class. We're seeing that we're checking if the checked value is true. So we're going to have an associated tasks.js file that's going to tell us, that's going to give us the value of checked. So if checked is true, then our class for this list item is going to be checked. Otherwise, it's not going to have a class, or it's going to have an empty class. And the reason we're doing that is so that we can style things that have the checked class to look like they're checked off. The next thing we're doing is we're just creating a button with the class of delete. This in times semicolon just creates a times symbol, looks kind of like an X. That's just HTML. The next thing we're doing is we're creating a checkbox. Checkbox, this is again HTML, but it has a checked value of checked. And again, this is the variable we referred to before. It's going to be a true or a false. So we're keeping track of if the checkbox is checked. So if you check it off, it'll add this class to the list item. And if you uncheck it, it'll remove that class. And that's why we're keeping track of that. And then we have a span with our text in it, and that's just the text from the task. So like I mentioned before, every HTML file in Meteor has this JS file that goes along with it. So just like every other file, we're going to do that with our task. So we're going to have a task.js. And what we're going to do is you're going to type this out. I'm just going to paste it in here. And what we're going to do is we're importing template again. And like I said, that just allows us to add logic to our template. I'm going to go ahead and close some of these other files because it's getting kind of crowded here. So I just have my task HTML and my task.js open. So we're importing template, we're importing tasks. Again, this lets us interact with and modify our tasks from our database. Then what we're doing is we're adding some events to our task template. And what we're doing is we're adding a click event to something that has the class of toggle checked. So the toggle checked is this checkbox right here. And so what happens is when you click toggle checked, it's going to update our task. This ._id refers to the current task. So each template actually keeps track of which task it is representing. So if you say this ._id, it's going to refer to the current task that's being represented by that template. So we're updating that task, and we're using this set keyword to set the checked value to the opposite of whatever it currently is. So basically, this is how you create a toggle. You set it equal to the not value of itself. The other interesting thing that you need to make sure you realize is this set keyword. If you forget to have this set keyword there, you're actually going to replace the entire task with an object that looks like this. Whereas what you want is something that looks like this. So my point is you're going to actually be replacing your entire task with whatever is in here unless you use this set keyword. So make sure you keep that in mind. That's not something they explain in this tutorial. And you may have noticed I keep switching back to this, expecting to see a task, and it's not showing up. The reason is because this task.js file actually is not being used because it hasn't been imported by anything yet. So in this last section here, we're going to import it in our in our body.js. And we're going to import it right before our body.html because our body.html requires this tasks template to be there. And so now it should show up as soon as it finishes refreshing, and there we go. So now we can check things off, and you'll notice when we check them off, it will add, see this li has no class on it, and if I check it off, it now has the class checked. And the class checked gives it this color and adds a strike through somewhere. Here we go. So this span class text, when the list item is checked, that adds a line through the text there. And so that's what makes it look like it's checked off. The other thing is the delete button. If you click that, it just instantly deletes it. It doesn't ask you, are you sure, or anything like that. I'm not sure what Baobab cursor getter's error means right here. I wouldn't worry about it too much yet. But that is the gist of it. That's the basic Meteor tutorial. I know we're only on number 5, but the rest of these actually are a little more advanced, and I will create them in another video.